Lakisha, we are live on Facebook and it's a whole bunch of people waiting for us. You might be a star here in Yonkers. They're waiting for you. They want to hear what you have to say. Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you for coming
Thank
on.
you. Thank you for having me and inviting me to your platform.
Lakisha,
you.
I ask these questions to everyone, every person that is running for an office. But before we go into the interview, let me make it clear that we at Yonkers Voice don't endorse or support anyone. We support the people of Yonkers. We do this series of interviews to let the people of Yonkers know who is who on the political field, where they stand, how can they help, and why do they feel that they are the best candidate for the job they are seeking. So our loyalty is to the people of Yonkers.
Absolutely. We have that in common.
Great. Lakisha, I was reading your resume and it's impressive, okay?
Thank you.
It's impressive. You are an attorney. You work for the municipal housing. You've been in touch with the people of Yonkers. You know what the problems are. But I want you to articulate that so the people can hear it from you. What motivates you to run? I'm sure that if you're running, it's because you feel that you can do a better job than the person who is already there, because otherwise there will make no sense running. Correct?
Yes.
Tell us, what's the motivation, Lakisha, behind you deciding to run for this position?
So my motivation is to serve the community of Yonkers. As you know, I've been a Yonkers resident for my entire life, and I see that there are issues in the community, especially in my neighborhood, that have not been addressed. So I feel that I am the best person to serve the community because I am a part of the community and understand the needs of the community.
Now, Lakisha, tell us a little bit about your past in regards to community. Okay, so how involved have you been in the community? And give us some examples of it, please.
Sure. So I have been working for the Housing Authority for nearly 20 years, actually. And I started out as a project manager at Cottage Place Gardens, which is a site where I actually grew up. So I've been in the housing arena, serving the public and providing access to housing, which is one of the most important topics in Yonkers now. So for the past almost 2 decades, I have been dealing with giving access to Yonkers residents and the community to housing and helping them going above and beyond. And most people that know me from the Housing Authority know that I will go that extra mile, even if it's not within my scope. I do what's best for the community.
Now, Lakisha, housing, it's a very important issue, and it's part of the question that we're going to ask you, but not yet, okay?
Okay.
First, I want people to know, who is Lakisha, the person, okay?
Yes.
Because very often people vote based on who is the person, and they forget about what the person is capable of doing or not doing. So the personality, the connection must exist there. Would you agree with me?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about Lakisha. Where did Lakisha grow up? Which school did you go? What made you decide to become an attorney, and then the degrees that I see here on your report? Give us a rundown of what makes you you. Okay, not long, because attention span on social media is not that great, but quickly tell us about you, the person.
Sure. So I am a daughter, a wife, and a mom, born and raised in Yonkers. My formative years were in public housing in Cottage Place Gardens. Actually, in 1992, when DSEC happened, I moved to the townhouses on the east side of town. So I did spend time on the other side. My parents said I've been talking since I was 10 months old. So that's where I guess the law comes in. I've always loved to talk and wanted to be an attorney. After college, I came back, worked for the county, and decided that I needed to pursue education because that to me is another important issue. and got my master's degree from Marist College and obtained my law degree while working for the Housing Authority, working full-time and raising my son as a single mom. I attended Roosevelt High School in Yonkers, graduated from there in the mid-90s.
Now, Lakisha, what in Yonkers, what you see that is the issue that it's priority one? Because, you know, so personally, when I tackle issues, I prioritize them. I say, okay, this is mostly important. I need to address this first, then this, then that. What is it that you see as the most important issue in Yonkers right now, and how would you solve it?
So I'm kind of torn between two issues that I consider to be paramount. And as I mentioned, that would be housing and education are two issues that are at the top of my to-do list. And the way I would address them would be, one, offering more affordable housing to the public, residents of Yonkers. In addition, there's a set of population that don't qualify for public housing and the affordable housing that exists, but aren't rich enough to pay the $2,000 rents that are priced for the new units that are coming up in Yonkers. So it would be working to figure out how do we serve that population that is too rich but too poor to live in Yonkers.
Now, as you know, we are live and people are asking questions. And the first question just came in, Lakisha, and it comes from Mr. Stephen Simpson. This is what he asks. Please ask her if she supports citywide re-evaluation for all properties.
So if I think I understand his question right, it's about property values. I'm not sure if you could confirm that information.
Well, I guess he will hear, and if it's not, he will say, well, no, this is what I meant.
Okay. So I think, one, that property values in Yonkers, because I am not a homeowner presently, but I do look on a daily basis, property values are high, and that is an issue which keeps a lot of our community from being able to buy homes. So absolutely, that would be something that I would be willing to consider to look into with the assessors department to ensure that properties are properly valued.
Now comes another question from Floyd Kirkpatrick. I hope I'm saying his name correct. If I'm not, Floyd, I apologize. This is his question. This is what he asks. The east and west of Yonkers still exists in a way that people perceive it to be divided, like there is a division between east and west. And I have spoken to many people on the street, and that's exactly how they feel. You know, the east side doesn't have this, and that problem. The east side, if something is broken, they fix it quickly. And well, if it's west side, the city doesn't. I'm not saying that's a fact, but that's what people perceive to be a fact. How you see that?
As a lifelong Yonkers resident, as I said, I grew up on the west side, but from 1992 to about 2004, I lived on the east side. So I know firsthand what he's referring to, and I will work, once elected, to ensure that both sides feel equal, because there are common goals and issues that are on both sides, the east and the west, and to ensure that every resident of the city of Yonkers is heard and that we have a unified Yonkers.
So are you telling me that you see that there is a problem there?
So I see where the perception lies, because as I said, when I lived on the east side, there were differences than how life is on the west side. So there is definitely a perception that can be addressed and rectified to ensure that everyone feels as important as the other side of town, one Yonkers.
Now, this one comes from my good friend, John Van Nostrum. John asks, what
Hi, John.
are you going, you know John?
John works for the Housing Authority. Don't blame me for knowing John. Please don't hold it against me.
No, I know John. Some people say, I feel sorry for you.
Oh, yes.
John is a good guy. I like him.
Absolutely.
We disagree here and there, but he's okay. It's okay to disagree.
Absolutely.
This is what he asks. If you are elected, what will you do for the working class?
So I consider myself part of the working class. And what I will do for the working class would be meeting with them to determine what their needs are and trying to determine what resolutions and solutions can help address their needs in the city of Yonkers. So I feel I best understand because I am a part of that community.
Now, Lakisha, before we go forward, too much forward, I want people to, because lots of people don't understand what is or what will be your responsibility if you elected. They
Yeah.
think that council president does it all, and council president does not do it all. You might be interested in resolving issues, but a lot of those issues are not issues that the council president handles. So give me a definition of what is the job of a council president so people can understand, and when they have a problem, they know if you are the person to listen to that problem, or perhaps they should call the council person for that particular district or the city hall.
So as everyone may know, there are 6 council districts that are each represented by a city council person that would be the first point of contact usually when there are issues that are within the district. However, the city council president differs because that office is citywide and represents all of the city. One of the unique roles of the city council president is that they are the omnibusmen that is appointed to respond to resident issues and concerns and complaints of the constituents and the city. So that is a unique role to city council president, but also the district leader, the city council district person represents the interests of their respective district.
And what is the responsibility of each council person? What do they exactly, what do they do?
Sure. So the city council is the legislative branch of government in the city of Yonkers. So what they do is propose and pass legislation ordinances to better serve the welfare, the health, and the quality of life issues of the city of Yonkers, as long as they don't contradict state or federal or county laws. In addition, the city council approves or doesn't approve, essentially, the budget of the mayor. And also they deal with zoning laws. But more so than anything, it's passing legislation on behalf of the residents of the city and the budget.
Does the council president has 2 votes, or you have 1 vote just like any other council member?
So the council person, leader, president, only has 1 vote, just like the other council members on the city council. So there is not 2 votes for the president and 1 for everyone else. Everyone is equal in their vote.
Now, let's talk about this. Oh, before we go, you know what? Let's talk about something else that it's actually affecting not just Yonkers, it's affecting the entire nation, counties, states, municipalities, COVID-19. Do you feel that Yonkers is handling this pandemic the correct way, Lakisha? And if not, what would you do differently?
So the city is doing a great job handling the pandemic and following the guidance of both the governor and the CDC. When we were shut down, I did see like the vans going around sanitizing public areas, putting in different safety measures like hand sanitizer throughout the city. So I would definitely say that they're doing a good job. And if anyone knows of ways that we could improve, I am open to those suggestions. But overall, I feel like the city is doing a good job with protecting its residents against COVID-19.
Lakisha, Yonkers is growing. Okay, you've been in Yonkers as long
Over
as
40
I,
years, yes.
exactly, as long as I, okay, if not more. Uh, and we have seen a change in Yonkers that it's unbelievable. But that change comes with a price, okay? People of Yonkers are now forced to move out of Yonkers because the rents in Yonkers are not affordable. you saying that, you would work hard to have an increase on housing percentage. Now, right now we are 10%. Some people are pushing it to 20%. What do you see is a realistic number?
So I know that when the legislation, the AHO, Affordable Housing Ordinance, was first introduced in 2018, it didn't go anywhere. And then it was reintroduced in 2020 and it's still in committee. So I'm not sure if the issue is the number being 20%, because I know at one time the number of 18% was floating around. But what needs to happen is that everyone needs to realize that this is a common goal for the greater good of Yonkers and come to some type of compromise. But I am wholeheartedly for 20%, but it needs to be based on data, not just an arbitrary number.
Right now, right on. But for what you see, is it realistic to ask for 20%? Will the investors, in your opinion, will walk away from Yonkers if they cannot generate a profit as they would like to? Do we have room for compromising? How do you see that?
So I'm sure there are some investors that may walk away, realistically speaking, because that's where the underlying issue is, that builders want to make money off the buildings, but at what cost? So I don't think that 20% is too much of an ask of them, because they're gaining so much with being allowed to build in the city of Yonkers. So while there is a compromise, I feel that 20% is a great number and something that builders should come in knowing when they decide they want to build in the city of Yonkers.
Now, I don't know if you know, we have an interview coming up on Thursday. And the interview is Corazon and John Rubel, and the subject is housing. Okay. Awesome. I remember when the new council took over, and Mr. Rubel was given the chair by the Democratic majority leader. Lots of people were not happy. And one of the reasons they were not happy was because he was going to stall on this issue and keep things in committee and over and over and over. And many people are not happy. Do you see or think that the council president has, his role, he can take things out of committee?
So I think that it would be the council person's role to ensure if something is stalling in committee, to find out what the issue is so that there can be a resolution and move forward, because this is something that is important.
Should a person who has an interest in real estate be the chair of the real estate?
When you say an interest, you mean financial interest?
Financial interest. Let's say in John Rubel's case, he lives in a district where most construction is going on. His landlord might be one of those builders. So that might be a conflict of interest. Some people might say, no, you're not fighting hard enough. Maybe you're getting a better deal if this or that. So do you think if you have any type of interest, should you hold the chair?
So I would say that even a person with a personal interest can be fair, because as an attorney, we are required, even no matter how you feel personally about an issue, to represent the best interest. So as long as that interest is disclosed upfront and everyone is aware that there is this potential conflict and that that person vows to represent fairly without regard for their own personal interest, that it should not be an issue as long as the person's fair.
Right on, right on. Now let's talk about the budget. Every year we have the same song. Okay. This is how the question. Every year Yonkers is presented with the budget crisis, with threats of layoffs and other budget cuts. What would you do to prevent that?
So I would first start with educating the public on what funding we do have, because the budget is just like budgeting for your home. You have to ensure that you have enough money coming in to cover bills and expenditures that go out. So I would hold more meetings in going to where the public is. Now, in the time of COVID, it's kind of hard to do, but to inform them of here's what is an expense, here's historically how much we spent on that, and try to find ways to keep the budget trim and balanced.
Now, this question again, it's from Steve Simpson. It's in line with the question that I just asked you. Leading the council, if presented with a budget deficit, how would you lead the council when it comes to laying off municipal workers versus raising taxes? How is your own budgeting philosophy respective in this question?
So for me, layoffs are hard, as are raising property taxes, because everyone is human, everyone has bills, expenses, and responsibilities. So it would take a hard look to determine whether it's layoffs or raising taxes, but it would not be without the input of the community.
Lots of people in Yonkers are in fixed income.
Absolutely.
Special people on West Yonkers. I would think that the people on East Yonkers, they might have a more solid financial status than the people on West Yonkers, fixed. They don't have room for another dollar in taxes. Every year we hear taxes will not be raised. We hear promise that taxes will not be raised, but taxes are raised. Now, I understand that cost of living, contracts, all that has a dollar attached to it. Is it realistic to think that taxes will not be raised?
It is probably not realistic to say taxes will never be raised. If I were to say that, I would not be being honest with the constituents. But before raising taxes, I would look long and hard at the budget to find out if there were ways to trim it before, again, laying off anyone or raising property taxes, because everyone needs to make a living here in Yonkers, whether it's home ownership or on a fixed income, people need to be able to live.
So one of the questions that I have here is, where do you stand on a housing ordinance? Would you support an increase to 20%? We already spoke about that, and
Yes.
I feel that you would.
Yes.
That you would. So have you reviewed the Westchester County Housing Needs Assessment? Have you reviewed the report and recommendations from Leviticus, and how do the two compare?
So yes, I have reviewed them, and essentially what the reports show is that we need thousands of units of affordable housing. The affordable housing ordinance, as it is present now or has been presented, only puts a dent in it. So there is still a greater need for housing. I would also suggest, some of the reports gave great suggestions for ways, creative, innovative ways to put more affordable housing, whether it is rent to own or other initiatives to create affordable housing in Yonkers.
Now, Lakisha, I seen on your announcement that you made a statement that, let me read it to you. I am proud to share my vision that represents the heart of Yonkers, our people. Who did you mean by our people? Some people are seeing that when you said our people, you meant people of color. I saw it differently. I saw when you said our people, you meant people of Yonkers.
Of Yonkers, absolutely.
So clarify that, please.
Absolutely. Our people are the residents of the city of Yonkers. Absolutely.
And how would you address those problems? If you have to, you are a Democrat, right?
Correct.
If you had to cross lines with the Republicans, would that something that you do, or no, you stay within your party guidelines?
So I am for unifying Yonkers, even if that means going across the aisle to determine what is there, because there is going to be a common ground somewhere, right? So if crossing that line means that I'm representing the greater good of Yonkers and what the people say they need, that's fine, because my goal is to serve Yonkers and to make it a great place to live as it has been, but make it affordable, make education great, and make the police department and other departments in the city of Yonkers more diverse. So I'm willing to work with everyone and finding that common goal to serve.
Now,
Yonkers.
Lakisha, you
Yes.
were appointed to the Board of Education not long ago, and you were
Yes.
appointed by Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano. Is he endorsing you, supporting you? What is his position in regards to your run?
So Mr. Spano is not supporting my campaign. I am running independently on a shoestring budget with few supporters at this point. I am hoping to gain the support of the general public. And as you know, at the convention, the party nominated someone else. So that makes it almost impossible to gain the support when people have to go along with the party.
But that was no surprise at all.
None at all.
Because he
Correct.
is the one there right now. And
Absolutely.
normally that's the way it happened. If you were to win the election and the next time around the party will back you up,
Absolutely.
that's the way the game is played, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you spoken to any of the unions here in Yonkers, like police union, fire department union, and other unions for support? Have they interviewed you? Have you reached out to them? How do you see it? How is that going?
So I hope to gain the support of the unions in their endorsements. I have done some reaching out. I have not set for any interviews yet, but hopefully that is in the works.
And now lots of people are going to watch this interview,
Yes.
Lakisha. We have a very large audience. People are going to ask, people are going to wonder, and people are going to say, well, she didn't spoke about this, she didn't spoke about that. Crime in Yonkers is bad. Homeless in Yonkers is bad. This is an opportunity that you can articulate your platform. You can articulate what you're going to be doing. Because if you are going to be doing the same as the person who's there now, they might say, we might as well stay with the person who's there now because we know who he is and how he does things. So this is the time for you to show us the difference, okay? What will be different? What problems will you resolve? What is it that you're going to try to help, or who? Landlords, tenants, rent. Let's take advantage of this moment so people can hear you about the things that you are going to do. It's important. Okay, you might not have this opportunity again, and people are watching. They're going to make their minds as we go along.
Absolutely.
So take a few minutes. Take as long as you think you need to specify and clarify where do you stand.
Okay, so I know most of the people watching were not at the convention, but I'll reiterate some of the points that I felt were important and that are important to me. On the heels of, and you asked earlier why I ran, the last 4 years in government have been about, in this country, have been about division, right? So after 4 years of divisiveness, we as a country and as a city and as a party, we need healing and unity, right? On the heels of a historic election year and inauguration, the nation and Yonkers are dawning on a new day. So my plan is to restore, reunify the community and its stakeholders. Let's bring the community back into policing and back into education. My goal is to work with colleagues in government, even across the table. As I said, I know firsthand about the needs for affordable housing in Yonkers. And while affordable housing has been a buzzword for a number of years, I've been providing Yonkers residents with access to quality affordable housing for nearly 2 decades. And although I intend to continue to relentlessly advocate in Albany on behalf of Yonkers public school students, my experience as a BOE trustee has taught me that we must think of alternatives to ensure that Yonkers provides quality education to all of its students. I've gained invaluable insight as a member of the Yonkers Police Reform Committee, which I look forward to using once elected to ensure that the Yonkers Police Department has a diverse workforce that is aware and trained to address issues such as systemic racism and implicit bias. So that is where I stand, what is important to me now. And I hope that I get out there and I'm able to meet the community so that they can see and feel my passion and know that I am the best person to get the job done, because my interests my loyalties lie with the community.
Now, Lakisha, another serious problem affecting Yonkers is homeless. We all know that there is a lot of homeless in Yonkers. Some of them are mentally ill, but not all, okay? There is homeless people that are homeless because they cannot afford housing, okay? The homeless people in Yonkers are affecting local businesses in Yonkers. We also know that not every homeless in Yonkers resides in Yonkers, meaning they are from Yonkers. We know that they're coming from other places.
Correct.
We also know that the homeless, it's a county issue and not a local issue. But we feel that once they here in Yonkers, they become a city issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
I think,
go ahead.
I think one of the big issues, as you mentioned, was mental health issues. So collaborating with county agencies, there's a number of agencies in place now that are equipped to provide the services that are needed. It's a matter of coordinating those services to reach the community where they are, to provide those necessary services, to get them mental health treatments, to find housing, and to get them the help that they need to become productive members of society, to get them homes, because those are very important rights. A place to live and addressing mental health issues are very serious issues.
Lakisha, you joined the local community, in regards to law enforcement reform. There is a board.
Yes.
What has been done?
So essentially, we've been tasked by the governor to create a plan, and he gave us bullet points and a specific plan to follow. And we have met it started in September, end of September through December, and we came up with the report. The first draft is in the works and will be made public. And once it is, we'll be taking input from the community to determine ways that the report can be tweaked. And then it will go before the council for approval and then submitted to the governor in April.
Now, this is how the people are seeing this board. Governor said we need this, and that. The city is just doing checkbox. Okay, it's done. We have the board. But what have we done so far to improve the relationship between police and community? And second question that you can address both at the same time is who on that board is a person that can actually relate to the issues in reference to police and community? Have you personally ever felt any issues with the police or reform or the issues with the law enforcement? You or others?
Yeah, of course, others in my family have had encounters with the police. When you ask about who on the board, I think that Charles Walker, who is a member of the Yonkers Police Department and Yonkers Guardians, is an excellent example of community policing. He is from the community, from Calcagno Homes, which is public housing, and is a member of law enforcement. Well,
hold on, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. Charles Walker is a police officer.
Correct.
Right. I'm talking about people from the community that are not connected with law enforcement, but had issues with law enforcement that might understand the problems a little bit more than a police officer. Do we have any of those guys in this board that can actually relate to the problems, that can speak for, from experience?
Yes. So there were two gentlemen, three really, got some younger members once the board was announced. Mr. McCall is a great example of that. And then there's another gentleman on there from 914 United who do great work speaking on behalf of the community. I know Mr. McCall himself has had encounters with police that he has spoken about in the committee. So they were a great voice for the public while on this board. And to get back to your first question, the goal of this committee was to address the governor's request, but the work should not end with that report that goes. I think that's the beginning. That's the blueprint to move forward and go forward with serving the community and improving community relations with the police department and Yonkers residents.
Now, forget about the board for a second. Mm-hmm. Let's speak from the resident point of view.
Yes.
You're not an attorney, you're not part of the board,
Okay.
you are a resident, and you
Okay.
see the issues with the police department. What are the issues that you think are most important that needs to be addressed, Lakisha?
So I think some of the issues are because the individuals
What are the issues?
the individuals that become police officers are disconnected with the community. So because they can't relate to the community, because they aren't from the community, they don't understand the needs of the community. And that may cause them to react in ways that are contrary to what needs to happen in the city. So that's why I say we need to have more individuals from the community joining the force. People that come from the community and know what the community needs are in order to effectively address issues in the community.
I agree with you. I always tell people, be the change you want to see.
Absolutely.
We interviewed the police commissioner a couple of weeks ago, and we spoke about the recruitment. There is a recruitment going on. There will be a test, I believe, around November. I might be off a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
We need to motivate the people of Yonkers, and you as a council president, if elected, and even if you're not elected, we can motivate people to take the test.
Absolutely.
Be the change you want to see. Take that test and become a law enforcer, become a fireman. We need to see more minorities in those jobs, people that can relate to the community.
Right. But we know there are hurdles with even that need to be addressed. Like the cost of the test being $100 is a hurdle for some people in the community. As you said, people on the West Side, fixed incomes, or during COVID and having lost their job, paying $100 for a test is a hurdle for people in the minority community. The way the test is set up can be a hurdle for the people in the community. So we need to do, knowing these are issues, we need to do as elected, as people in the community, what we can to ensure that the test is accessible and affordable for residents in our community, especially minorities.
I interviewed Assemblyman Nader Saeed about a week ago, and we discussed that. And this might be something that you want to be involved in. And we said, look, there is lots of guys, especially in the west side of Yonkers, that might be interested in taking the test. $100 is nothing too many, but the $100 is a lot too many. So what about we found out if we can donate people, for the test fee, if folks that can actually prove hardship, okay, they want to take tests, but the only reason they cannot is because they cannot afford, we would pay up for that test. Maybe that's something that you would be interested.
That's an excellent option. Absolutely.
Regardless if you are elected or not, because as you said,
Absolutely.
you care about your community and you've been working for your community.
Absolutely.
Now, Lakisha, anything else? Let's take advantage of this interview. Other stuff, community work, because you are going to be, if elected, the council person of the entire Yonkers citywide.
Yeah.
You don't have a specific district.
Right.
It's citywide.
Correct.
So you need to speak to both audience, people in East, people on West Side. So this is the time one of the times, I know that you're going to have another interview next week, but take advantage of all the interviews to communicate to the people, what will you do? Why are you the person that we need to vote for? What is the difference between me and who's there? So take advantage of it.
I think for most people who know me, they know that I am relentless and I zealously advocate on behalf of others without regard of background, last name, whether we're friends or whatever that person can do for me. So if elected, I will wholeheartedly represent the needs of all of Yonkers. I will meet with residents on a regular basis to figure out what their needs are and serving those interests. It's not about gaining power, it's about empowering my community, Yonkers.
Well, Lakisha, this was supposed to be a 30 minutes interview. It's been 45 minutes.
I told you I could talk.
You sure can. And so can I. I have questions to the bazoo.
Absolutely.
But,
Thank you.
everything has to come to an end.
Yes.
Hopefully, we will talk again. As always, Yonkers Voice is not here to support this side or that side. We don't support or endorse, we inform. We inform so people of Yonkers can make an informed decision on who deserves their votes. This is all about informing the people of Yonkers.
Absolutely. And that's important. I do thank you for allowing me to come on your platform and get my word out. And I hope that the residents of Yonkers can, again, feel my passion and support me in this campaign to become the first African-American woman. Let's make history together, Yonkers City Council President.
Well, thank you very much. Guys, tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m. Legislator Christopher Johnson, it's going to be on. He's also got a challenge, and he's going to tell us why he deserves to stay there. But that decision is not his, it's yours. You decide who's going to stay, you decide who's going to go, and whoever is the best person for that job, we wish him the best. Thank you, Lakisha.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too.